name is Bitange Ndemo.
My name is Meria.
My name is Mikul Shah.
My name is Wandia Gishuru.
My name is Kelvin Karamuni.
My name is Mark Ndongo.
My name is Tim Latieng.
I am Ndonye Njoroge, and I am unthinkable.
I am unthinkable.
I am unthinkable.
I'm unthinkable.
And I'm unthinkable.
I am unthinkable.
At the beginning of my business, a wise lady told me that when you start a business, you must do two things. One, you must decide how much money you're ready to invest in the business before you say quit. So money first. So once you decide you're investing, for example, 1 million shillings, you know that you will not go beyond 1 million shillings. The second thing you must learn to value is time. How much time are you actually going to put into flogging this horse? Because if this horse doesn't eventually run, you got to accept that the horse is dead. It's not going to run. You can't keep flogging the same horse for 10 years and it's not moving.
My name is Martin Kiarie. I'm CEO of Being Interactive and director at BFH Group, which entails Being Interactive, Fieldstone, Helms, and Experiential. Being was actually my second foray into, can I say, the digital world, following my first company, which was Exemplar Technologies. So Being, the idea came while I was in university. So I got the opportunity to study at the University of West of England, which is in Bristol, in UK. And as a broke student, I was in the cafeteria. And then I see on the TV screens, turn on your Bluetooth to receive a coupon for free fries. So I'm like, what? So I turn on my phone, or rather I turn on the Bluetooth on my phone, and then I see an incoming message. And I accept and I open the image and it's a coupon for free fries. So I go to the till and I get the fries, and now I'm so excited. Then I start thinking, Kenya has such a rich mobile culture. This was around 2008, 2009. Kenya has such a rich mobile culture. You know, this could work.
There are many challenges when people start enterprises in this country. It actually begins from even thinking to start an enterprise. We say quite often that a good enterprise is one that is opportunity-based, meaning that you are solving some kind of problem and providing that to the people. Unfortunately, most people start enterprises by replicating what they see. In this, they have a problem, they don't make money, and sometimes they end up defaulting in the money they borrow to use in such businesses.
My name is Dr. Maxwel Okoth. I'm the CEO and founder of Ruai Family Hospital and RFH Healthcare as a group of health facilities. My background, my mother was a banker, and my father was a high school head teacher. Most of the newsletters which were always in the house were more of banking and business, and so the people I used to see in the newspapers were more people like the CEOs of Barclays Bank. That time there was a Wanda, there's Martin Oduor-Otieno, mostly corporate, and so my dream was to be a CEO, for example, but I realized for you to be a CEO, you must have done a Masters of Business Administration, because that's how it came out like. And so I wanted to do BCom and eventually lead a business. That's what was a big idea. Which type of business I was to lead, I had no idea.
So I decided I'm going to take Bluetooth marketing to Kenya, and so that's what BEAN stood for actually. It was an acronym for Bluetooth Enabled Advertising Networks, BEAN. I remember doing a couple of, so our first entry was sponsoring concours d'elegance, Jifanyin, we have big money, set up a Wi-Fi, a Bluetooth network around Ngong Racecourse. And so everyone who came to concours around 2010 would remember seeing banners and receiving things on Bluetooth. And yeah, so we had pitched to the clients, we were still trying to figure out, we didn't have a business plan. It was more, and I've never been a proponent for business plans. I think the best business plan is to listen to the customer. So come with your assumption, listen to whoever you're creating the value to. If they respond with approval, that is your business plan. If they respond with disapproval, you adapt.
What I would say is that at any one time, the first thing you start is a good understanding of the product or service that you're trying to market. Because if you don't do that, then you're lost.
So the challenges at the beginning of the business are the same that most people face. Having to hire people, making mistakes, sometimes not really knowing what you're looking for, not really having systems and processes in place, not knowing exactly how the market's going to respond to things. So I think in the beginning of any business, you're testing and building up your knowledge and your understanding as you go.
A few benefits of following a design thinking approach is, one, you develop a really good understanding of your customer and of the problem that you're solving. And the tangible results that you get from that are higher customer satisfaction, higher net promoter scores, and most of all, higher adoption and better revenue.
My name is Dr. Joan Kinyanjui. I'm the director in charge of systems and head of supply at RFH Healthcare. Post-graduating, Maxwell was quite passionate about starting a hospital. I remember very well when we were living in Kiambu, he could buy like small equipments, like a microscope, then he'll put it under the bed. He buys maybe a kit, and then he'll put it under the bed. And then now we were to look for a location. He was quite passionate with 2 locations. The first in mind was Pipeline. The second one was Ruai. At that point, my parents were living in Ruai, and there was a building that had just been completed. So when I knew the building was completed, I invited him to come over to Ruai so that we can maybe do a field study and see whether Ruai was a good fit. So I remember coming with him, and then there was only one hospital then, a hospital that was basically an outpatient, nothing more. So the place was quite deserted because not a lot of people were living in Ruai. So we were thinking, everybody else, all our colleagues were in the other side of town. So there was that thought of, do we go to the upper market or do we come this side? But again, we thought that this is a place that had like a lot of potential to grow. So the thing about Ruai was the fact that you could access Ruai in different, like there were 3 roads to feed to Ruai. There's the Mombasa Road, there's Kangundo Road, and the Thika Road. And besides that, like a lot of people were buying land on this side. So at that point, that's when we decided probably Ruai would be a better fit for the hospital to set up.
I remember one person who really made a big difference. And this was Angela Gizuzu, who was the marketing manager of Nokia at the time. And, went and pitched the idea to her. And I'll never forget how excited she was, not about the technology. And here's where I learned that people don't buy what you sell, they buy you. And so I remember her saying, I've had many ideas, but this one is so innovative. And not only did she take up the product for one of her events, so she used it at Chaguo Latinis. We created Bluetooth bags, we created Bluetooth posters, etc. But she then went forward and said, with the way you think, can you actually handle the Nokia's digital marketing? And I remember we started as hardware guys, Bluetooth hardware guys. And now I remember Googling what is digital marketing after she said, but first I said yes. I said yes. And then, while we were preparing the pitch, I'm like, okay, what is Facebook? How does Facebook work? etc. And I really, with my business partner at the time and myself, really put in our best efforts to create the best pitch deck, and we actually won the business, and that was what started the journey of now moving from Bluetooth to digital marketing through being interactive. We changed it from just being, and we changed it to being interactive, so it can be broader than just Bluetooth.
The problems we have with borrowing this easy money started mostly by young men who borrowed to use money for betting. And it is mostly what we call lack of discipline. But with time, you would begin to see people have become more disciplined in using such resource to finance their enterprises.
So it's not important in business to take risks. It's important in life to take risks, because there's nothing on this earth that is not a risk.
There's the idea of you want to start, but do you have the capital? So I approached quite a number of people. I remember I went to my uncle who was a bishop, and he had a bit of links in the Western world. I thought you'd probably come in and we partner and start a missionary hospital with him. I told him, and then he was like, we'll look into it. But the urge that I had was stronger and was more urgent.
First and foremost, I did not secure any funding because nobody would lend me money. I worked with savings and borrowed from friends and family. It was not until maybe 10 years later that I could secure funding from a financial institution. But prior to that, it was really from friends, family, and savings.
When first starting out, I kind of bootstrapped my way, and then was lucky enough to manage to raise some seed funding from a VC fund. But since then, I've really primarily focused on generating profits for the business.
I went to another friend. At time, Babu, this university students leader, and of course he had money, and I told him, I'm thinking of starting a clinic, could you be able to plug into it? Of course, he also said, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then he didn't get into it. And I told my girlfriend at that time, but you see now, these ones will just chat and talk and see what to do.
Funding from friends and family is cheap, but it comes with a myriad problems because it also affects your personal relationships. So I think when you cannot borrow elsewhere, you go there. But if I had options at that time, I would probably have borrowed maybe from a circle that had a lot more money to offer me, or even from a bank or microfinance, if the interest rates were favorable.
I approached quite a number of friends. Nobody was seeing the dream and vision that I had. So I had to think fast. And so I went, and that time there was this crave for buying land in Kitengela, and everyone was going to Kitengela. So a friend of mine had showed me a piece of land. And remember, my mother had just lost her job when I finished the university. I knew there was a bit of money they had been given as the send-off package. So she had money somewhere, and so I knew if I told her I want money to start a clinic, she wouldn't give me. I told her there's a piece of land I want to buy. I'm currently on temporary employment, and after internship I'll be confirmed as permanent and pensionable. I can be able to take a bank loan and refund you back the money. So that sold. So she gave me the money to buy the piece of land, and so I decided to kill two birds with one stone. I paid a deposit for the land, negotiated a payment plan, and then the other half of it I committed into starting the clinic.
So we funded the business initially from personal savings. I had worked for very many years and not saved that much, but the little bit I saved, I put into it was the initial capital, and then slowly over time, we began raising money from mostly friends and family.
I think for me, the reason of getting into angel investing and beyond angel investing, also mentoring and just working with startups, is that I've gone through the entrepreneurial journey myself. And I think that over the years, I've gained enough experience and learned from a lot of mistakes that I've made. I think one of the biggest things over doing this for quite some time is being able to have a network. And a lot of early stage businesses simply have challenges of opening doors. They're knocking on doors all the time, and they simply need to connect. So I think that where I have been fairly useful for a lot of startups that I advise or I invest in is the ability to connect them to various different people, whether it's investors or partners or even HR. I'm just very passionate also about the technology scene. I think that technology in Africa is going to solve a lot of the problems that we face as a continent. And I also think that, we need to build our own solutions within Africa rather than looking at, external businesses coming in and taking those opportunities from us.
It takes me a really long time to trust someone. But how you feel and how you act can be mutually exclusive. In 2020, two businesses in BFH Group lost their biggest client. And so we had been discussing the idea of collaboration. And this is why I keep saying things work for you. They don't work against you, should you choose to see it that way. So we had both lost our biggest client, Safaricom, at that time. And we were like, whoa, the worst has happened. What do we do to survive? And so because we had been talking about the idea of coming together, we thought, why not come together? And so we did. And to be honest, it was for survival. And the benefit there was because we're able to come together, we're able to share costs, we're able to share staff, we're able to kind of combine energies at really high efficiencies.
So in terms of looking for the ideal partner, for me personally, one, it's at the end of the day, it's a relationship, and I think sometimes whether the business will succeed or not is really dependent on the type of partner that you bring in. So I think if I'm to look at the hierarchy of things that were very important for me, one is to get someone who truly believed in the vision, because by the time I was looking for a partner, I already had a very clear vision in terms of what I wanted to be able to achieve through the organization. What I needed was a partner, one, who really bought into that vision, believed in that vision, someone who shared in my values in terms of how to do business, because those are some of the things that can really cause a lot of differences and eventually could lead to the failure of a business. And then thirdly, someone who has complementary strengths and competencies. So for example, I'm a creative. I'm very strong in strategy. I'm very strong in sales and things like that. I needed someone who could be able to take care of the operational side of the business, the financial planning, financial management, internal processes, etc. And I think those were some of the things that I was looking at when I was looking for a partner, someone who would complement my strengths and bring in what the business really needed to be able to succeed.
My focus mainly was just developing the work. And that has been my focus since we began. What I do is do the creative, because I'm not money-minded, which is why it's good to partner with guys who can think of the business side, people like Martin. So they let me focus on what I do best, which is kind of building the team to do the creative work while they focus on getting the money. So I don't bother them with questions of money. I just know if I need something, they'll find a way to get it for me.
When you need to register a company, that time you needed at least 2 directors. So I was 99%, and then I approached this friend of mine. He said he will be part of it. He's a guy we had done business with before. When I said about Tom on 10 in campus, he was part of the guys I'd started it with. We were very close. He was also my neighbor where we were living in Kisii. But he didn't come as himself because the money was coming from the sister. So he also plugged in a 50,000 for 1% at that point from the sister. And so yeah, we were there. He was still in campus. I was running the business. The sister was not there. Along the way, I think the sister became a bit impatient because there was nothing coming in, and I was pumping in, and they requested out, so I had to actually refund the money out. At that time, bringing a partner would not have been possible because the business was really struggling. No one wants to come into when there are problems. But way later, years later, I approached a couple of people, and we were able to get a friend who came in as a partner. So right now we are 2 directors into the business.
I met Dr. Maxwell sometime in 2015, thereabouts. We just used to have normal conversation up until 2016, when the conversation became a little bit financial, or so to speak, a little bit serious in terms of business partnership. We were seated somewhere, and we were a group of us. And Dr. Maxwell, in his normal self, while explaining how he's doing in his business, gave a proposal, a very open proposal in terms of if one of us, and we were very close, if we would join hands and buy into his dream, then he would accord someone an opportunity to become a partner.
You do it afraid, because I feel if you're waiting to trust someone to then give them the opportunity to show you that they're trustworthy, you're a bottleneck. You're stopping progress. So just give the trust afraid. Afraid that it could fail, afraid that you could be screwed up or messed up, or someone might take advantage of you.
At some point, you just have to let go. It's getting the right people. So you just have to get the right people to be able to do the right thing. Eventually, you'll get the right people. You'll fall, they say you kiss many frogs before you get the right one. Yeah, so you'll get the wrong people and eventually get the right team. So you weed them out slowly until you get the people who share the vision that you have.
Of course, put in place some measures to eliminate the risk. And personally, what I do there is I'm more a relational person than process and function. So I spend a lot of time with, in conversation, in meetings with the people that I need to trust. So I spend a lot of time talking to them, sharing with them, hearing from them, because that's what builds, for me, the comfort that, this is someone I can depend on. At first it was for survival, but then as we started going through, we realized the beauty and science of collaboration. Now, because you've reduced or you have high efficiencies, you're able to produce more. And then, because you have more people, the energies of bringing in business is doubled. So, we could pitch for bigger business because now we have multiple competencies within the two companies. And because, we are two business leaders, we could go out and we presented ourselves better. And even when we presented our combined revenues, we were more respected more. So we realized, wait a minute, we're getting more value, we're way more efficient, and we're actually even more respected by the market because of it. And then came Hugh, the third partner, very quickly thereafter, who we had also been talking to previously. And so, the three of us came together, and it was, in the beginning, a shared problem. We all share the same problems being in the marketing industry. And so when we came together, the benefit was just superb. Like, we could literally go to our client and not be focused, as I mentioned earlier, on what this company does or this company does or this company does. We now have the competency to solve whatever problem it is the company is facing. So we're like, wait a minute, we're now living our true purpose by being more valuable as a group to all our partners.
In terms of BFH, very exciting stuff. I think our coming together is just enabling us to enhance so much value for the clients that we work with. And I think for us, our approach is to own business challenges and to help our clients find solutions for their business challenges. We do not want to be seen as a marketing agency. We actually want to be viewed as a transformation partner for our different clients. And so we're doing things very differently. We're thinking very differently, and we're extremely intentional about how we want to support our clients in solving their business challenges. So a very exciting future ahead of us, a long, tough journey ahead of us, but we're up for the task.
I feel like giving up sometimes, even to date. That's a feeling that never ends. Business is a roller coaster. There are times things are okay, times things are terrible. You're asking yourself, do I really have to continue doing it?
Giving up. Giving up is something that I think if somebody tells you they never felt like giving up, they are a liar. Because everyone goes through ups and downs. So you feel like giving up many times. It's just a matter of how much do you feel like giving up as opposed to how much are you driven by the dream.
When it comes to feeling like giving up, it's a feeling I face every single day running a business. And like, So my dad committed suicide in 2K5, and to me that was giving up, right? And so yet whatever he was going through actually ended at some point, So for me, that really landed for me very powerfully, that don't make permanent decisions to temporary problems or temporary situations. And in essence, even in my office, I have a poem written, "Don't quit." And quitting, I feel, is the thing, it's more the effect on you than on the business, because it's kind of telling yourself that it's an option. So for me, because of that experience with my dad and just the fundamental understanding that nothing is temporary, nothing is permanent, doesn't matter what you're going through, it is always temporary. Because if you change your idea from quitting, which doesn't fix the problem, to actually just focusing on what needs to be done to change the outcome, then you increase the temporary nature of whatever you're going through.
I regularly feel like giving up. Like it's a very common thing, and it's never stopped. 10 years into the business, there's still days when I feel like giving up. But I remember why I started. I think of all the people who rely on this business, all the employees we have, all the commitments we have. I think about the opportunity, and I'm like, we're not there. We haven't reached where I think I have a responsibility to take it. At some point, I will leave, not because I'll have given up, but because I'll have run the section of those relay races, and it's time to now hand the baton on to the next person.
I think everybody goes through ups and downs, and there's not any time where I've not felt like giving up. But I think as human beings, what we always tend to forget, or we focus on what we have not yet achieved, rather than taking a moment to sit down and think, like, look at all the things that we've already done and we've already achieved.
It reaches a point, it's not about you anymore. It's a mix of very many people, your clients, and it stops being about you. You might want to quit, but it's not about you anymore. There are people who actually are so much invested in the business that you cannot afford to quit. I would commit to Ruai just to supervise these people who are here. I mean, I stretched myself thin. Even that commuting itself was tiring. Leaving Kiambu, this bypass was not as busy. Probably stay in the matatu stage for 1 hour before it gets full. So the time you'd have used to sleep, you're still waiting for people. You come here, you need to check things and probably freshen up, then grab a power nap. At night, you're literally on call at your clinic because you cannot afford to pay someone at night. So you'd put a number there in case somebody comes, they call you, you wake up, you treat them. Sometimes you'd pray they don't wake you up, but you also need them to come to you, instead of going somewhere else.
I think based on the way he brought things on my table, I felt there's a future here. And I even remember that time I also had issues with my family, because they will feel like you're working, but you cannot, every time you don't have money. But I kept telling them, I know one day things, because at that time we also started expanding now where Ruai Family Hospital is. Because they already started doing partitioning in that building and all that. So there was that financial strain. But I will not strain and say that I don't have money to do something, because anytime I'll just tell him I'm a bit stuck, I just need this money. And they just kept telling me, just keep your record, one day we will sort it out. And true to his words, when everything settled, he sorted out everything and even gave me a token on top of it, which I remember that was my first land that I bought in Kamulu. I was given a check of 400 by the CEO. This one I'm giving, I don't know how much, probably I'm supposed to pay you, but this one I'm giving it as an appreciation. And I felt good.
The very first thing I would have done different is that I would have hired low caliber staff to work with me, because when I started, I thought I could do everything myself. So I would get into the office, start doing the cleaning, wiping, really wasting time, because I'm too valuable a resource for me to be wiping tables.
after I've made presentations, so initially because of my fear of failure, I'd get angry when people didn't give me opportunity, or I'd blame whoever won that they did something I didn't, you'd even say the people bribed. Maybe they were just better than you. So what I do now is realizing, first of all, that nothing is personal. And no one takes you that seriously, so don't take yourself too seriously as well. What I mean there is, if someone saying no, they're not saying no to you, they're saying no to what you've presented. If you come back with a presentation that's good, they will say yes to the presentation. So what I did then was, whenever, someone, maybe we don't win a job, the first thing I'd do is actually say thank you for the opportunity, and inform people that for us to continue on our professional development, it will really be great if they give us the feedback. And more often than not, some people just don't bother to give you the time. It's a process they're following and they need to move on to the next. But those who are invested in actually helping you professionally develop and can see your authenticity, actually then come back and tell you, actually, you didn't win because of ABCDFG. Allow me to share a story right here of an experience there with a website project for then Exclusive. I don't know if Exclusive was this portable toilet company, the pioneer in the industry, founded by Moses Derrito, who's still a good friend. And we pitched and we lost. And the weird thing is, I did the process of telling him, we want to develop, could you please help us? No. And he gave me the time of day by even saying, because our office wasn't far from each other, I'd say, can I actually come over and you give me the feedback? And he said, come. And he actually told me, your price was too low. So compared to everyone else, yes, your profile looked good and your proposal looked good, but your price was too low, which made us doubt whether you actually can deliver what you're doing or you're actually just taking our money and going. And I was like, what? I was too cheap? I've never heard of that before. And so I then, made a bid to take the business and promise him that I'll deliver. And I went back and I sent back a more expensive proposal, of course, taking into consideration some of the things he factored, some things I hadn't considered. And unfortunately, the person who won the business hadn't responded to the award letter. So they had, taken 2-3 days. During these 2-3 days, I'm there working with them. And fundamentally, he made the decision that it seems you want this way more than the people who won the business. Here's the work. And we got the job.
It's challenged me a lot in terms of being the entrepreneur behind the business. Ultimately, you're the person responsible, to your shareholders, to your staff, to your suppliers, to your customers. And that's a lot of burden of responsibility that you feel, where I think when you're employed, it's easier to switch off. Like, you leave work, you come home in the evening, you're like, if there's a problem, we'll deal with it tomorrow. I think when it's your own company and it's your baby, you never get to switch off. You never really get to divorce yourself. So the pressures are real. I think sometimes I feel like I've aged a lot because of it. But it's also been extremely rewarding, because what I love is being able to be in the decision-making seat, like being able to decide, okay, there's an opportunity there, let's go for it.
Education is a key to most of the things. Had I not invested in some of these trainings I've gone through, I don't think we would have this institution sitting here today. So it opens up your eyes towards many things. It makes you think differently. It makes you explore new opportunities. You interact with people who've been in the industry longer than you. They become your peer advisors. They show you ways. They show you how things are done differently. And things keep changing. The world is going tech right now. If you're still stuck to the old age, then you'll probably wake up one day and realize no one is coming to the hospital. People are being treated on the phone. And that's when you start adjusting, and that's how some of the big companies have just gone like that. I mean, BlackBerry was one of the best phones. It's not there today. Okay, it's there, but not as robust as it used to be. Where did they go wrong? So some of these classes, they teach you these case studies so that you learn from what other people have gone through and probably also prepare towards your growth in the future. And my advice would be, you can never run away from continuous personal development. And we do that not just for me, even for our staff. We keep sending them for trainings every now and then, just to be able to keep up with the changing trends in the market.
You know, in the beginning of a business, all you have together is energy, action. That's it. You know, all you have is your desire, and that is all you need, by the way. All these things of organizational structure and all, it is not the tool of success. And by the way, it comes when you're building a bigger company where you need consistency. But in a smaller company, all you need is commitment, energy, action, drive, perseverance, and yeah. So no, I had no such thing. No organogram. Everyone did anything. I was a driver at some point. Like, name it. Like, you do what needs to be done. You don't care about structure.
The second biggest challenge is pretty much building the necessary capability to be able to, meet the needs of our growing clients.
Right now we have every structure so that there's someone who has a role of doing something as compared to initially when it was me or him. So when you're overwhelmed or engaged, sometimes some of those things slip. Right now, at least we have a finance, because at some point I was a person doing the reports, I was a person finding out the cash, I was a person going to bank the money. So with all these things, sometimes you may end up missing. But right now, there's a finance person who follows up on finance, follows up transactions of what happened yesterday. There's someone in procurement confirming that everything we ordered was brought.
When deciding on people to employ at the agency, one of the things we consider the most is your personality. Advertising and indeed agency work brings out the best and sometimes the worst in people. So we are very keen on people's personalities, your humanity. Are you good with working with people, with your team members? Are you able to commit yourself to the job that is at hand? Are you able to commit yourself to your clients? And for us, that's very important.
Coming from Fieldstone, where I led a team of 2 accountants, to BFH, where we are a bigger team in finance, I believe the change has mainly been appreciating that everyone is different and learning to appreciate everyone's skill. But being a group has definitely made us grow as individuals, and growing in our roles has been a bigger experience than it has been before at FH.
There's many ways companies can invest in their employees. First, by providing them with the necessary knowledge that they need to succeed in their lives.
I think if you don't invest in the people you work with, then you're very foolish, because it's like saying you're going to be using the same knife to cut everything in your house, and yet you know very well that the knife you use to slice bread is not the one you use to cut meat or to slaughter the chicken. So it's the same thing. So with your team, the team must really become the best they can be in every way.
For training and development, we do have a program which looks at skills improvement across the different departments and the different teams that we work with. But it's two-pronged. So there's trainings that we do have and we do subscribe to through our multiple partners like Facebook, Google, and etc. But we do also encourage guys, if you notice any training, for instance in motion graphics, in augmented reality, etc., etc. If there's anything which you feel is important, we always encourage guys, and we sponsored guys to take part in these trainings depending on your unique interests.
When you're hiring someone, the picture of success must be very clear so that they know whether they're failing. In fact, it should never be a surprise. An underperforming person knows they're underperforming. More often than not, they'd be the ones telling you if they're a good employee. What you want is for your employees' success, whether with you or without you. More often than not, what they need is a really good boss, not a father or a mother. So So just be the best boss you can be in terms of helping them grow professionally. And should you not be the case where they can do that, please help them achieve that success elsewhere.
I think I am self-admittedly not the greatest of managers. And yes, we've had various different experiences with employees, both senior employees and junior employees. And I think that every startup, once they get to a certain stage, should really think about investing in HR and HR consultancies. Having a dedicated HR person who's trained and understands how to deal with employee requirements, I think is very, very important.
I think from the beginning, from when RFH started, that is, from when it started, we really had experienced a lot of maybe theft amongst our staff. And I think there were some years, about 3 years, where probably there was not much growth, because at that point he was equally working at the county as I was. So there was no supervision from himself and maybe myself. So there was a lot of maybe hemorrhages when it comes to finances. So as growth came by, and as he was the first to resign before I did, so when he came on the ground, that's when he realized there was a lot of gaps, there was a lot of money being lost. And with growth again, because I think when this specific branch came by, again we were looking at a bigger staff establishment, we were looking at a bigger investment. So at that point, we thought which better hands to put to be responsible than we ourselves. So at that point, that's when we decided, okay, let's do this.
To ensure employees offer impeccable service, first we built a culture. We call it Java Love. So everybody within Java knows that it's all about the guest, it's all about love, it's all about hospitality, passion, service with a smile. That's all we are all about. So we keep our employees happy, and we believe that if you keep your employees happy, they will keep your guests happy, and your business will definitely prosper. We do training and development to make sure that guys have the right skills. And lastly, we take our time. We allow people to make mistakes, for people to learn and to grow along the process.
I think when it comes to business advice, someone whose advice I really sort of have tried to implement in my own work is Simon Sinek, and the start with why. I think, so many times you forget the why of what it is you're doing and what you're trying to achieve, the sort of purpose behind it. And when you can remain clear on that, it just helps everything else make sense. So why are we doing what we're doing? Why are you trying to get there? What are you trying to achieve?
We can only be hopeful and hope for the best. We are hoping to expand into other geographical locations. There are places we've mapped in Nairobi. We want to be a full-fledged HMO, whereby we can be able to control costs, increase quality, and be able to have a 360 approach. So we are looking at medical training, we are looking at pharmaceuticals, we are looking at medical insurance, micro insurance. You realize our insured population is very small compared to the entire. We are looking at about 6 to 10% of Kenyan population, which we are doing very badly. Plug ourselves into the universal healthcare coverage that is being pushed by the government, and how do we play a role into it? Probably just define new standards of health service delivery, and that's why our slogan says changing medicine and touching hearts, just changing how things are done, so that we'll be able to have an impact on people's lives.
A lot of people who've spoken at Unthinkable. My journey first as a business coach at Unthinkable really helped me understand businesses and how they operate and provide value to how to help them grow 10x. But I've enjoyed some of the relationships that not have been created at Unthinkable, but have been fostered through Unthinkable. Joan Maingi of PMS Group is a good friend, and when she came to Unthinkable, some of the things she shared really helped in unlocking some of the possibilities I was trying to create in terms of partnership. One person I really admire, Patricia Idao, came and talked, and post that talk, actually, I went and met her, and a lot of insights were given. So I think the most valuable thing I've found on Unthinkable, I met Juliet, who now handles our HR, is really the relationships and how they facilitate the journey. But you have to have a vision. You have to have a direction where you're going. Unthinkable won't give you a direction. It will only support you on the journey.
I think that, we all have to understand that we all have brilliant ideas in our heads. But the key thing is you have the ability to execute. So ideas are not that important. It's all about the execution. And the other important thing is the fear of failure. I think a lot of us want to do things and have these dreams of doing certain things, but we are conscious of the fact that what if it doesn't work out? And I think that what sets apart a lot of entrepreneurs and the entrepreneurs that we sort of, admire and look up to are the fact that they will risk everything, just to try, and they're not scared of failing.
I don't know if there's 5 tips I'd give. I'd give one. Do you guys work well together? And working well together doesn't mean you always agree. It means that after the disagreements, do you have processes that help you come to a consensus? Do you complement each other? Because what I've seen from the two main directors is that they're very different people. But when they work together, they go a lot further than when they were working as individuals.
It always gets better. Even with the challenges, it always gets better, and we don't always remain where we started. And seeing where we've come from the challenges of the COVID year to losing clients to where we are at today is that it gets better eventually. Relax,
Focus on kind of the more positive side of life, of things and people, and that it would all work out, not to stress.
Don't be afraid. Take more risks, be adventurous. The world is yours. Don't be afraid of anything or anyone.
If you think you can, if you think you can't, either way you're right, because it just denotes how strong our mindset is, and that the minute you put your mind to anything, you will achieve it.
Made many mistakes. 18-year-old, we should actually begin to make some small investments. Those gifts that you are given by relatives for doing well in your KCSE, we should actually begin to practice to make investments. The savings rate for this country are so poor, and simply because we were not taught how to invest small things here and there. The stocks that I bought when I was very young really helped me later in life, and those were maybe by accident. But talking to an 18-year-old self is that I would have done more, because you are given a small gift, you blow it up. I think to think about investment, to think about the future is very key, and to develop a vision of what you want to become. It's very important.